So, what exactly is a good research proposal? Is it an observation? Is it an experiment or a research study? Is it a time factor study, a qualitative study, a quantitative study? The right answer is not yet not unified for everyone. So, based on the commonly used research methods in a certain field, you would be more likely to work with those specific research methods and decide based on what is appropriate for your field and what is appropriate for your specific question. So, if we look at an example of a qualitative study which looked at what nursing research usually uses in terms of methodology. And they showed that there was a lot of different options of qualitative research so that they are doing. So it's not a common answer that you can say, okay, so this is just one way of doing our research, and we need to do it always this way. And the variety of different research methods and techniques will help you get a more in-depth answer to your question specifically. So, in order to understand how to design your research, we need to be sure we understand what a research question is and why you need a research question. So, it's something that's very specific to the researcher and tests a specific hypotheses. I feel that sometimes in the beginning, when we are working with students, that they struggle quite a lot for this specific issue of generating hypotheses. So hypotheses are broad questions, usually broken down into smaller testable statements or questions. And these statements or questions, they need to be able to be answered either by quantitative or qualitative data. So often research questions are then a conglomerate of more than just one hypothesis, but they are connected together with common topics and themes. And if you have common topics and themes for that specific question, you are going towards an objective or aim of your research. And through calling it a question, you tend to help with focusing the hypothesis and thinking about how to find an answer. So you're trying to find an answer to your question about a specific research that you want to do, but you want it answered in a specific way so you can use data for the answer. So what makes a poor research question? If we have good research questions, we also have poor research questions. The first one is quite obvious. So it's a question that matters to nobody, even to you. Meaning you're doing research just for the purpose of doing research, maybe because you got an assignment at grad school. And because of that assignment, you are asked to provide a certain research question, and you don't have an idea what to do, and you just blur something out. So if it matters to nobody, it's probably also not going to matter to the journal that you are submitting it to. So make sure that you have a question that will significantly in some way answer a question that is currently in the scientific community. Another way how to make a poor research question is to hope one emerges from routine clinical records. This is what I see many times as a medical doctor and doing research in the medical field with other clinicians that don't have a big research focus. They're trying to figure out what they can get out of their data and then base the question on that, what is available in the clinical data. So In general, when looking at the possibility of generating information from retrospective studies, you need to have really, really good documentation in order to make a good study. And records will usually be biased and confounded, so you need to take that into account when developing your question. And also, research records lack information. You need to answer your question for reliable answers. And because they were collected for another reason, they don't give you the answers that you want. So it's quite difficult to make a good research question from retrospective clinical routine data. You can, but it's difficult and it won't bring you a really good study. Then another poor research question that we see a lot of times, and it happens especially in fields of genetics, now proteomics. So all the omics where you can just put on an assay and just put, let's say, 1,000 genes and then fish out something out of those 1,000 genes. So a fishing expedition or data dredging will usually not give you the results of a question that is of good quality. So what you do with fishing expeditions is you usually put a big assay and you put bloods into that assay. And based on the bloods in that assay, you would then gather new data and hope a question would emerge from that. But you don't have any promise that something significant will actually come out of it. And then you have vague and unspecific questions as an option of poor research questions. So you are too general or you are too little general, and the question doesn't really get answered with the data that you have.